I would like to start this video by telling you that coldness should accompany you at all times, because at any moment, an opportunity or a negotiation, or even obstacles may arise, and the best way to take advantage of them is by being cold and rational. That's because sometimes people very close to you may be harming you, and you will have to do something about it. You will need to focus on not listening to your emotions, and only use your rationality to solve everything in the best possible way. So coldness is not a behavior you should have occasionally. It is something that must exist in you, and it must be a well-formed behavior, so that at any moment, you are prepared to use reason and not emotions. So in this video, I will give you some tips so that you can make better decisions and see things more clearly. The first attitude is not to listen to your emotions, but at this point it is necessary to do a quick analysis. You know that situation where you're talking to someone, and then you start thinking, should I tell this person what I think or plan to do? And then you stay in this doubt until you finally make a decision. Many times, this desire to tell something comes from our emotions. And then the problem is that many times, the decisions that are made at those moments come from your emotional side. And it is these moments that you must use your reasoning, and you should think about what the possible reaction of the person will be when you tell them what you are planning. Reflect on whether it really suits you to say that to the person. Analyze whether you really want to say it because you think it is correct or necessary, or even advantageous, or if it is really just your emotions pushing you to do that. Do this analysis, it is very important. For example, let's suppose a situation. You are talking with a friend, and you wonder whether you should tell them about a business you are planning, and you really want to tell them and have a conversation about it. After all, you are very excited and motivated. But that's the point. You are happy, you are excited. And maybe that's the big reason why you want to tell that person. And then what you should do is analyze what the advantages are of telling this person and what the disadvantages would be. Try to think before you act. And do you want to know my opinion? If there are no advantages in telling your friend, don't tell them. It's not worth it. Try to contain your emotions in those moments, because your emotional side is much more communicative than your rational side. Another attitude is knowing how to set aside emotions to focus on something else. For example, you are very angry and nervous because a family member who lives in your house fought with you, and now your mind is in conflict, just thinking about that fight. However, you also have many duties to do, whether for your professional work or your studies. So what would be the right attitude to take? Would you listen to the thoughts that make you angrier and even increase the possibility of another fight with your relative? Or would you focus on the responsibilities you need to do? Obviously, the answer would be to focus on what you have to do. So in moments like this, you cannot feed thoughts that lead you to anger or any intense emotion that ends your rationality. Because if you stay there feeding it, before you know it, 2 or 3 hours will have passed and you'll still be in the same place, without having done any of your responsibilities. In other words, you spent time feeding an emotion that isn't even important, instead of making your day more productive. So adopt this attitude of noticing when an emotion builds up in your mind after a situation. If you can cut that emotion off at the root, your mind will clear, and you will be able to focus more on fulfilling your responsibilities for the day. Now, I will specifically talk about anger, as it is a topic that I consider extremely necessary to discuss. In your life, you will find adversaries, that's no secret. But if you're not cold enough to face those people, you will never be able to defeat them. Michael Corleone, a character from The Godfather, says that you can never hate your enemies because it clouds your judgment. And he's absolutely right. If you hate those you face so much, you cannot think clearly, and without reasoning, you will never be able to devise a good plan to defeat them. And when you are taken by anger, you are easily manipulable. If your enemy puts a target in front of you, you will run like a bull, trying to destroy that target, and you will believe that you are harming your enemy. But it's evident that they are manipulating you. And as I said, in these moments of manipulation, it's like a bull. If you are very nervous, you will want to attack everything in front of you. But you won't realize that you might be doing exactly what that person wanted you to do. So never put yourself in this situation of hating your opponent. In fact, you should respect them. Only then will you have the peace to fully analyze them, to obtain the necessary information that might defeat them. Then, focus on your patience, calm, and rationality, as these are fundamental elements of life. And after anger, I think I need to comment on love. This feeling is the one that blinds many people the most. In fact, I believe it is one of the best emotions a human being can experience, but also one of the most dangerous. Because if you feed it too much and give yourself over to love, you will be more blinded than with anger. And it can be even more painful, so love is something to be very careful with. And of course, I will use romantic relationships as an example. After all, it is one of the situations that most represents love. And the idea I want to give you here is not to tell you to be totally cold and not to feel love for the person next to you. That's not it. What I want to convey is that you should be careful not to feed this love too much, to the point of leaving no more room for your rationality. For instance, let's suppose your girlfriend betrayed you or did something very bad, which hurt you deeply. Why do you think loving her is a good reason to continue with that person? Because from my point of view, if she has disappointed you to the point of breaking your trust, you have to coldly analyze whether it's worth continuing with that person or not. Listen to reason, instead of being blinded again by love. So be careful. Love can blind you to the point of leading you down an extremely painful path without even realizing it. And finally, we'll talk about negotiations. When it comes to business, you shouldn't take it personally. Only if it is to analyze the feelings of the other party in the negotiation, if you want to try to gain some advantage. But if it is to facilitate a negotiation, just because the other party is a family member or a close friend, forget it. That's a mistake. And this issue of business is a point where you should be even colder and more calculating. You always have to remember that business is business, family and friendships are separate from that, and they should always be kept separate, especially when a negotiation involves money. So try to keep this lesson well in mind. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your like and your comment. See you in the next video.